Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of Tourismus Namibia. My name is Frank Steffen. I'm the editor of the Tourismus magazine section and obviously also of Allgemeine Zeitung, the German daily. And with me you see Desiree Gases.
Yes.
I'm getting there.
Yeah, almost there.
She's been joining me for the past 2 weeks already. This is your third time, is it not?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm getting really comfortable coming
exactly.
here.
We've got a very full program, so we need to rush it a bit. We've got topics as always, and then we've got destinations where we offer you some new ideas. And then at the end, we've got an interesting interview under To The Point. Actually, today we've got two. So let's go for it. Today, up first is topics. But before we go there, as usual, we first quickly do a turn at the marketplace.
So today on topics, firstly on topics, we have the 57 elephants auction.
Yeah.
So 57 of a total of 170 elephants that the Ministry of Environment offered for sale in December 2020 during a tendering process will be given a new owner. With this sale, the Ministry of Environment generated revenues of 5.9 million, and one animal goes for about 103,508 Namibian dollars. The ministry has now announced the writing 5 bidders have participated in the tendering process, which is also known as an auction. 3 of them were successful. Of the 57 elephants, 15 would be captured and relocated to Namibia, and the remaining 42 would find a new home in another country.
Yeah, and this is obviously a contentious issue. People were going quite crazy this week. And I must admit, I tend to agree. We're busy looking into this thing right now ourselves from the Allgemeine Zeitung, because the problem is that if you take the average size of an elephant tusk and you multiply that by the so far known rate for ivory, even though there's not supposed to be any trade going on, people have a rough idea of what the going rate is, more or less. And if you multiply those, you get to an amount much, much higher than 100,000. So the argument that some people have now is that at that sort of point, you would basically encourage people to take part in an auction, take that animal and maintain you're taking it to a zoo or whatever. Later in your own country, describe it as a problem animal or whatever happens, or it is sold once again to another entity, which nobody really checks up that much, and you end up taking the ivory any case. And you would probably have a huge score. We're talking as 1,000% profit. Oh. That's how high the difference is. So we really want to look further into that, and we would also want the ministry to explain to us to which country these animals are going. They said that they don't want to explain who the buyer is, which I can partly understand. There is some form of confidentiality in that regard, but I do not agree that we don't even know where they are.
Where they are.
Yeah. So let's see where this is going. On some more interesting news, and it's not directly tourism related, but still it is important. K9s, we've received a couple of sniffer dogs from Holland, and they arrived last Sunday, in fact, and their names are Kacha, Devil, Wanda, and Britta, which is interesting because Britta is also the name of my sister. But anyway, these were sniffer dogs, and Old Mutual actually supports that case in the acquisition of those 4 animals. And the idea is obviously to help the Ministry of Environment and Forestry and Tourism to fight wildlife crime and smuggling in Namibia as a whole. And the 4th dog was actually trained to also take part in this, and it was supported by the United States Fisheries and Wildlife Services. So anyway, so Kolga Sikopku, that's the man in the middle there, he's from the Ministry of Environment, and he said the procurement process dates back to 2017 when the insurance company pledged 268,000 to purchase the dogs from the Dutch Canine Centre. So upon arrival, Old Mutual will contribute 50,000 for additional equipment of the K9 unit. That's what they said, and that's what they did. And that vehicle in the past was also part of the sponsorships from various private institutions. And some will remember that last year already we actually wrote about the first animals coming here. Now, I've been involved in dog training for years, and the biggest challenge in this case is not so much acquiring the dogs, but actually making sure that they sort of are kept to that standard. Because dogs, when training them, they need a success experience each day. Otherwise, they lose that ability. So this is quite a specialized thing that they're doing, and I trust the ministry really does its best on that case. Yeah, so those are our dogs. And then up next, very interesting, we've got
the
Eurowings.
The Eurowings, yes.
Yeah, Eurowings landed last Wednesday, and it's a very interesting case because we mustn't say Eurowings, it should be Eurowings Discover, and it's a separate entity that was called into life by the Lufthansa Group, and it specializes more in tourism. So the hubs that they're using are Frankfurt and Munich, and from there they fly out to Africa mainly, but they're also in the long run looking at Caribbean and North American sites. But what the interesting part is, here on the right-hand side of the photo, you see Wolfgang Rebiger. He's the CEO of Eurowings Discover. And on the left, you've got Dr. Schultz, who's he's responsible for Lufthansa's, the Lufthansa Group marketing for Southern Africa and East Africa. And so it's a very interesting thing that they're starting now. Windhoek will be flown to 5 times per week. Now imagine, I mean, we were all weeping because what happens now that Air Namibia is not there anymore, but these guys will be flying 5 times a week. And in fact, next year in May, they already want to do it once a day. So it will be 7 times, yeah. So they're combining it, but in terms of making sure that they've got sufficient freight. So they'll be using the whole system of Lufthansa Cargo to basically fill the belly. And I suppose there's more stuff going from our side over to Germany. So if there's not that much traffic from here going back there, I suppose they will find the medium on how to mix and match it. They told me that quite a lot of fish is actually going overseas, and I know that grapes has always been an interesting part. Then we know of these blueberries that have been out for a while now, dates. So I think there's quite a number of things that can add to the value so that even if tourism doesn't pick up right away, then it's still good. And they had more than 200 people on their first flight last week. Yeah,
that's a good start.
It is good because we've been missing out on tourism in such a big way. So I hope Eurowings Discover really makes it a success. And oh, by the way, there's still one other thing that I forgot. They will extend next year sometime. They will aim at extending their flights to land in Windhoek and from there on to continue to Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe.
So great.
Yeah. And they were actually quite impressed with the infrastructure of our airport. They say they were pretty impressed by the fact that it's suddenly becoming more accessible and easier to get people through the system and so on. So maybe we're on the right track in that regard. Yeah, and that brings us to the end of our topics. Up next, we've got destinations. Yeah, welcome back. Destinations, as always, to me the most interesting part of the whole show, I must be honest, because I also learn and see where I can go next from these sort of ideas that come up here. They're obviously not always our ideas, they're contributions from our various journalists in the Namibia Media Holdings Group. And this section today, we start with Claudia Reiter of the AZ, and she tells us a bit more about Hohewarte. Now, Hohewarte Guest Farm is outside Windhoek. In fact, it's not that far from the airport at the end of the day as you go out there. It is basically as you go towards Darabus. So it's not all quite right out at the airport. And it's a guest farm. In fact, it is a former police station and a post office from colonial times. According to its operator, Steffen, who we've had as a guest on our show before, with its historical flair, it is the perfect choice for the beginning and the end of a Namibian holiday. Clearly, because it's close to the airport, and the farm is only 20 minutes from Hohewarte International Airport, and it's set in what he calls an idyllic landscape, and I can attest to that because I sometimes drive out there on a Saturday just for the heck of it. And the guest farm has 7 ensuite guest rooms and 1 suite in the main building. 2 other guest rooms are in a separate bungalow near the farm pool. But let's have a look at the video.
Ja, mein Name ist Steffen. Ich bin seit 15 Jahren jetzt hier im Land und betreibe 2 Lodges. Die eine Lodge ist unsere eigene Lodge, Immanuel Lodge, am anderen Ende von Windhoek. Und hier sind wir jetzt im Moment auf Hohewarte, einer Gästefarm, die wir seit Dezember 2019 gepachtet haben.
Okay. Wo sind wir hier gelegen? Wo sind wir hier?
Wir sind hier in der Nähe vom Flughafen, gar nicht so weit vom Flughafen entfernt. Also der ideale Ort, den Urlaub anfangen zu lassen und auch den Urlaub enden zu lassen. Wir sind nur 28 Kilometer vom Flughafen entfernt, auf der Pad nach Darabus. Und ja, insofern, somit kann man also auch den letzten Tag dann nachher hier in voller Länge noch genießen, weil man wirklich nur 25 Minuten bis zum Flughafen hat.
Wie viele Räume haben Sie? Wie viele Leute können hier übernachten? Wie läuft das bei Ihnen so?
Insgesamt haben wir 8 Räume, wobei wir davon auch Familienzimmer haben. Das heißt, wo die Zimmer zusammen, also nebeneinander liegen und wo man sich also ein Badezimmer dann teilt. Insofern bieten wir im Moment 6 Zimmer richtig an und können damit dann nachher 12 bis 16 Personen im Moment bei uns aufnehmen.
Okay. Und wie läuft es gerade mit Corona in der Situation jetzt, wie es ist? Ist es besser als letztes Jahr oder schlechter? Sehen Sie, dass es besser wird?
Es sah sehr gut aus, dass also das Reisegeschäft ab Juli, August wieder anziehen würde. Dadurch, dass wir jetzt also als Virusvariantengebiet mit eingestuft worden sind, hagelt es im Moment natürlich wieder eine ganze Menge Stornierungen. Aber wir stecken den Kopf nicht in den Sand. Wir vertrauen im Moment auch auf das lokale Geschäft, haben dafür die Weichen gestellt, auch mit den Aktivitäten, die wir hier mit anbieten können, von Hiking über Birdwatching und dann natürlich auch am Wochenende einfach mal rauszukommen, in die Natur zu kommen, den Alltag hinter sich zu lassen und nicht so weit von Windhoek fahren zu müssen. Insofern ist Hohewarte schon dort ein Platz, wo man sich während der Woche und auch am Wochenende sehr wohl fühlen kann.
Okay, also könnten die Lokalen aus Windhoek jetzt Sonntag fürs Frühstück kommen oder wie läuft das?
Ja, wir bieten das jetzt wieder an, das Hiking, also und Kaffee und Kuchen. Das heißt, die Gäste kommen morgens hier an, gehen dann in die Natur. Wir haben 3 Wanderwege, die wir ausgezeichnet haben, von 4 Kilometer bis, ich glaube, 12 Kilometer, die man wandern kann und dann im Anschluss noch eine Tasse Kaffee und ein Stück Kuchen genießen kann und dann entweder sich hier noch auf der Lodge mit aufhält oder dann halt wieder nach Hause fährt.
Okay. Nochmal wegen Corona, mussten Sie irgendwelche Angestellten gehen lassen oder wie war das bei Ihnen? Sind noch alle da?
Wir haben alle Angestellten behalten und haben auch die Gehälter voll weiter bezahlt. Das fällt uns sehr schwer, Aber meine Frau und ich, wir haben uns dazu entschieden, selbst private Reserven dort mit anzufassen. Denn würde uns schwerfallen, uns morgens in den Spiegel zu schauen, wenn wir zweimal am Tag essen können und die Mitarbeiter einfach nach Hause geschickt werden und ja, suffern müssten. Also das ist nicht unsere Vorstellung von Teamwork. Mitarbeiter, die uns lange Zeit zur Seite gestanden haben, wollen wir auch in dieser schwierigen Zeit mit durchtragen und mit unterstützen. Wir empfinden uns wie eine Familie und ich denke, da ist es selbstverständlich.
Was für eine Aktivitäten bietet Hohewarte an?
Wir bieten einmal den Farm Scenic Drive an, wo man also hier auf der Farm dann mit dem Auto geführt wird und die herrliche Landschaft rund um den Bismarckberg dann auch erleben kann. Die Farm selber hat 10.000 Hektar und ja, hat wunderschöne Plätze, also die Natur ist hier wunderschön. Es lohnt sich, das einfach sich auch mal anzuschauen. Des Weiteren haben wir dann die Hiking Trails, wo man dann die Farm auf eigenen Füßen dann erkunden kann. Und die Birdwatching-Touren.
Okay.
Dort arbeiten wir auch sehr eng mit Bötzkon-Tour zusammen, die also diese Touren dann nachher auch geführt mit anbieten und entsprechend auch über die Vogelwelt mit informieren können.
Okay. Was für eine Tiere kann man hier so sehen, wenn man hier so rumfährt oder rumläuft? Oder?
Wir haben eigentlich fast alles an Tieren da. Es sind Elands da, es sind Kudos da, es sind Zebras. Wir haben Hartebiester, Wildschweine, die Warthogs. Also es ist eine große Vielfalt da. Die Tiere haben hier die Möglichkeit, auf knapp 200.000 Hektar sich zu bewegen, weil wir hier einen Zusammenschluss als Conservancy mit mehreren Farmen haben, sodass also die Tiere auch hier einen großen Auswahl haben.
Yeah, welcome back. Very interesting for me, obviously, because I understand it. I hope and I trust that a couple of people can also understand it. Obviously, Stefan Hock is German speaking, and so it wasn't really that possible to take, to record it in any other manner. But I trust some of you were able to follow. The interesting part is really what we told you earlier. And what needs to be remembered is that he basically reckoned that he's got one of the best sites where he can spoil you. I, for one, know for a fact that Stefan is one of probably the best chefs in the country. And they've previously actually won the best restaurant of the year and that sort of thing. It was not on that lodge, but I mean, I trust when you're a good cook, you're a good cook, no matter where you are. And but the best part of it is obviously his argument is that in the COVID time they were able to still manage. They are open to the public, so you can basically just drive out there on a weekend and enjoy a nice meal in the surroundings and walk around a bit, or even do a game drive, I suppose. And but the interesting part is they never let anybody go. And he actually takes pride in that, which is nice to see, because I know of some of the hospitality industry members that even before they had any inkling of what the impact would be, within a couple of days they gave their people notice and said, look, we'll only look at this again when this dies down. And so I've got much respect for somebody who's tried their level best to at least survive this period together with their staff, carry them over into the better times, and then hopefully some form of loyalty will exist between those two team members. Yeah, up next is you.
Okay, so up next on destinations, we do have the Desert Explorer Center. The Desert Explorer Adventure Center.
Yeah. It's just outside Swakopmund as you drive towards Walfish Bay on the left-hand side.
Yes. The Desert Explorer is found near the banks of Swakopmund, like you said, or the Swakopmund River in Swakopmund, and it provides various services which both local and international tourists can enjoy, like camel riding and quad biking.
Yeah, this is really that if you somebody like me who likes going for walks with his dog, if you move up or walk up Swakop River, you will more often than not find that you stumble across these spurs, and in the beginning you don't really understand what it is because they're huge. until later on you sort of get these animals. And you suddenly understand, no, this wasn't a giant who was walking here. It was just, well, it was a giant, but not the one that you suspected. So I must admit, I've never done something like that. People say it's quite a funny thing.
Same.
Because you need to first get sort of used to their rhythm, because they've got a funny gait in the way that they walk.
Yes, they do.
You know?
They do.
So Adolf Kaura really made some effort in capturing these animals for us. Yeah, this is obviously just the site. Yeah, and this is what you see when you go past. As you go past the soccer fields, you always see the Desert Explorers Adventure Center on the left. And they really offer a lot, because it's not only the camels and quad biking. I think they also do bookings for, obviously for skydiving. They do some of these dune activities, you know, the dune boarding or sandboarding. So there are quite a number of issues. It's something for the adrenaline junkies, and they can go crazy there.
Like me.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. I'll organize for you to jump out of a plane.
I'm doing well. Can you please introduce yourself to us?
My name is Amutenya Rawa. I'm working for Desert Explorers, a booking office. We offer all the activities in and around town, like quad biking, sandboarding, skydiving, and so forth.
Okay, tell me more about your camels that you offer here for camel riding. How many times do you guys feed them, and what? Who is available to basically go on board and climb these camels?
With the camels, we have quite a lot of camels, plus minus 25 camels, for which we only saddle up some at a certain time. Like, for example, we saddle up 10, the other 10 have to stay in the river for resting and also for feeding them. And then we rotate them on a daily basis. And anybody is welcome to get on the camel, be it youngsters or anybody can ride the camel. We don't have a specific age for that.
Awesome. And your quad biking, take us through your quad biking service.
The quad biking also is for anybody. We don't have any age restriction on the quad biking. If it's for underage, as long as the parents sign indemnity for them. And with the quad biking, we also cater for everyone. Like, we have a slow quad biking tour that we take out people that don't really have any experience on the quad. We call it the 2.5-hour Explorer Tour, which is a very nice, slow, relaxed quad biking tour into the desert, where we take out people to show them the living creatures, like the snakes, not those poisonous snakes, just the giant white snake, chameleon, spiders, and many more.
All right, and obviously you also offer something to eat for the tourists and so on. Do you have maybe a place where people can sit? What can they enjoy to eat here?
Okay, on our tours we don't really offer something eatable, unless you do for the breakfast run.
Okay.
We do have a tour called the breakfast run, whereby we take our clients on a quad biking tour, heading to Rosemont Lodge, where they can have breakfast that is already included in the tour. Okay. Otherwise, on the premises, we do have a bar with drinks and snacks, whereby the clients can, after the tour or before the tour, they can have a seat, relax, and have something to eat or drink.
All right. In terms of employment, how many people are employed here at this place?
We have quite a lot of people or employees employed here at Desert Explorers. We have plus, minus. We have actually different companies here, which we cater for accommodation, known as Adventure Village, camel riding, which is camel safaris, and Desert Explorers, which is more on the quad biking in, like a booking office I said earlier. So we have plus, minus, maybe let's say 35 people or so.
Right, and in terms of COVID-19, what do you make sure to do to make sure that preventative measures are adhered to here?
Well, with the COVID-19, we adhere to all the protocols, by sanitizing the clients as they work in the office, checking the temperature, and also wiping the surfaces just to make sure that people do not catch the virus.
All right, thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, that was quite interesting.
Yeah,
So
we couldn't finish that sentence there just now. I'll organize for somebody to take you up there and throw you out of a plane while the plane's engines are still working. I want to see how you still enjoy that afterwards.
I'll take you up on this offer.
I'll get somebody to take you.
Okay, so third on destinations, we have Avani. So last weekend, I went to Avani for a day, and I took a few snippets and a few videos of my journey there and how the room looked like, and their restaurant, and there was actually a really, really, really amazing view. So watch this.
So did you at least have lunch?
I did. I had lunch before we went inside the rooms. I had lunch at the pantry.
Oh,
I had
okay.
lunch at the pantry. But the time that I was having the lunch, I wasn't thinking about my phone. I wasn't thinking about making a video, but I did.
Okay. No, it's good stuff. I mean, it shows you that it was enjoyable. Otherwise, you wouldn't have forgotten.
I would.
No, good stuff. And hopefully, I mean, we as Namibians don't go there that often because it's in Windhoek.
It is.
But I know that some people actually do it in that way, that if they've got their wedding anniversary or something like that, they actually book out a night at a hotel, go and enjoy it, and then next day it's back to old Windhoek's ways again.
Yeah, it's just giving yourself a time off and a treat, because you deserve it.
So those are our destinations for today. Just to make sure, Avani Hotel is in Windhoek, so it's in the center of town, because we didn't add a map this time, but yeah, that's what it is. Up next, we've got To The Point. Right, to the point, and we've got two interviews today. Up first, we've got Gitta Paetzold. She's the CEO of the Hospitality Association of Namibia. Many of the people know them simply as Han. But in this week, and that we didn't include under topics, and I specifically left that out for a moment, because during the past week there was quite a big workshop organized between the Ministry of Environment and Forestry and Tourism, as well as the UNESCO and a couple of others. Obviously, many of these Hospitality Association was just one, FINATA was there, all these organizations, and they deliberated a bit about COVID, the impact it had, and how to best fix it. But then I wanted to know from Gitta what's up next. So let's just have a look at that video. Welcome back. As you can see, I'm not alone in the studio. With me is Gitta Paetzold. Welcome, Gitta.
Thank you very much.
Most of you will know Gitta. She's been a guest of ours previously, obviously of HAN, Hospitality Association of Namibia. And you guys had quite a big workshop 3 days ago, where you basically deliberated about what tourism is, where you're going, what the COVID impact is. Maybe you want to just quickly sum up a bit?
Yeah, it was an outreach by the United Nations Development Programme, who in conjunction with our ministry, the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, did a survey last year in September to ascertain the impact of COVID, especially on tourism, because we've always been saying that tourism is one of the hardest hit sectors by COVID because of all the restrictions and the travel bans, etc., etc. And they wanted to quantify it somehow and also really see where the impact hit hardest. And given the results of that survey, then also would like to assist Namibia in finding a way out of the dilemma and a way forward. I know the United Nations platform always talks of building back better. So COVID is giving us this opportunity to look at the impact, look at our resilience, look at our readiness, and then see what we can improve upon to get out of, first of all, the pandemic and the very big dilemma that we are in at the moment, but then also work towards a more prosperous future. So a survey was conducted both online as well as face-to-face contacts with the tourism sector specifically. So all the commercial entities were approached for comment on a various list of categories of questions. And the team, supported by the UNDP, and they had experts in the field as well, and statisticians, they also reached out to nature-based tourism entities as well as conservancies and national parks, because they looked at the whole holistic tourism product, which is very good. Statistics are always a problem here in Namibia because there's a resistance and a lack of understanding.
People don't like being asked.
Ignorance, and I must say I'm actually pleasantly surprised to see the amount of people that did respond, and much more also the frankness in which they did so. So they were very open and frank about what had hit them, but I think they couldn't have done otherwise because, you know, the reality on the ground is just so blatantly obvious. The results of the report, the speaker, a bleak language. I mean, and it's also, the report was basically discussed at the platform, a virtual meeting that we had with UNDP and the ministry and various other stakeholders in the banks and, you know, sectors of tourism. We were also asked to then make comments on the initial report that we were sent about a week prior.
This is Hanna.
Yeah, but also FINATA and organized tourism in general. We were asked to make comments, and we looked at the report and just tweaked and sort of commented on a couple of issues. But all in all, I mean, the report says it all. Tourism is down by more than 90%.
But isn't that really stating the obvious? And then that's why I really asked you to maybe come in and let's maybe deliberate about the whole thing, because, I mean, paper is very patient. And what would the next step be? Like, what is your next step in order to assist government? On the other hand, what has government committed to in terms of assisting that we actually get out of that hole?
Frank, that is exactly the concern that we also uttered at the event, because we said the report is wonderful and it's a nice thing to have and to sort of base argumentation on, but in the way forward and in the recommendations that were listed, we still lack the proper direction in terms of who is responsible for what and in what channel will this be put through. So, you know, our call was for a dedicated team of, and Namibia did very well in terms of setting together their Tourism Revival Initiative Tourism Task Force, where they added all relevant ministries and stakeholders and authorities at government level to talk tourism revival. But that is not a permanent structure, and we said we need that kind of permanent structure so that from now until post-COVID, we would actually need a dedicated tourism-focused team. And we from Han also asked or urged that that team then have tourism in focus, and that we don't let ourselves always be derailed by other issues that also took priority now in the last couple of months, health always being a priority and other systems. That is key to us, because tourism revival, and the report also says that tourism has so many implications on other sectors. The whole supply chain was basically crushed. So many more people suffered than was initially actually expected, because everybody thought tourism was just a couple of hotels and a couple of coaches.
I think we've started to realize just how deep this problem runs, and especially I think what many people hoped, I think more than knew, was that the local tourists could at least catch up on some of this. But if you start shutting down and opening up, shutting down, opening up, then there's no continuance in terms of income for these lodges. And the few odds and sods of foreign tourists that are finally landing here, as welcome as they might be, they're not enough. And so I was wondering, is there a real drive to get an executive into system, and so that these sort of things can be decided on, because there's maybe somebody like the ED Ben Ngombe of health, who can then say, okay, this is what we're going to do, and then Dr. Shangula, the minister, already makes peace that he's got enough trust in somebody like Mr. Ngombe to really do the right thing. Is there such a move?
That's what we've been calling for, because what we need now, and I mean, the last year we've had basically 2 weekly changes in protocols and restrictions, etc. And that has, especially now the last 6 weeks, I think have been the hardest for tourism, because we were on the way better, and then we were really pushed down to the furthest and the most restrictive level. And it has affected the confidence of the international traveling world and also the local world in terms of, can I still book, because I don't know what next week's decision will bring. So we are urging for a more permanent structure and a more permanent system and protocols that will give us the confidence and the certainty that we can actually book ahead and plan ahead, because the flexibility that we've gone through last year was worldwide and everybody accepted it. But going forward, and everybody has realized that COVID cannot be wished away. We will have to work with COVID for the next year,
and live with it,
3,
somehow manage it.
Exactly. So the managing part of that's what we're calling for now, is that we need a more long-term plan. And realize that there's no 100% security or safety or permanence. We all just have to live with the consequences, but we need to start taking charge and taking responsibility of our decisions and working with it. And I think it's just fair to say that the tourism industry has, over the last year, proven and shown that it is responsible and committed to a way forward. The kind of investments that were made in setting up extra protocols and the safety measures and the social distancing, it all costs money and effort. So we are willing to compromise on some of the big wins that everybody thought we had made, wishful thinking, but we are willing to work in the restrictive system. But at some point, we will need to be given the recognition and the responsibility to work within those parameters for a longer period, to be able to shout out to the local, the regional and the international market what we are able and willing to do on a long-term basis, because tourism doesn't happen overnight. And I know, I mean, there's this big call to say, but we shouldn't only focus on the international market, the local market, and the domestic market now needs special care and special rates and prices and special products. It has been done not only during the COVID times. Namibia has always had a domestic market campaign, and you know from the tourism expos that we had little booklets and specials, etc. So it's not a new thing, but we will have to remain realistic that there's just so much spending availability in Namibia to be able to feed the tourism operations. And it costs money to set up camp somewhere in the wilderness.
It's not a free of charge exercise.
Exactly, and the operational costs of the tourism business is not negligible. There are heavy charges and heavy fees.
This is obviously now more Han related, what you're talking, but I mean you associated not only with Han but with the tourism sector as a whole. To me, one of my bigger concerns is also that we've got all these conservancies. And they were supported initially, and I think especially Germany contributed in a very huge way, but even others, and even our local government, has tried to assist these people and at least get them through the worst of it. But now my problem is these monies are drying up now, and so what's the way forward for them?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the mentality of conservancies and the nature-based tourism products, they thrive on that connectivity and being able to expose the wonders of Namibia to the people. They don't want to remain sitting back and waiting for handouts. So the whole, you know, the morale of people needs to be uplifted, and we need to give them back their livelihoods. It's just fair for those people to be able to expose what they have and live it.
Because that's really the basis of their income, or the basis of how they live, in fact.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we've come a long way in terms of Namibian conservancy and nature-based tourism development. We've actually made international headlines. We were on the right path, and we were very, very grateful that both local government and international donors stepped in to assist those. The COVID assistance program by KfW and many others actually supported, and they reached out to tourism to say, where can we assist? But remember, we cannot assist commercial entities, which we fully accepted.
Yeah, exactly.
But that was a very, very important assistance in the time that tourism income actually dried out completely. That they at least were given some kind of lifeline in terms of staying afloat for this period. But this period is much, much longer now that we all hoped for. So we need to find a way forward. We need to get back tourists. And it was also mentioned in the report that Namibia has what it takes. And we could actually market ourselves as the haven for post-COVID.
Especially because we've got the distances and the space.
And that's where sometimes we need to be, as Namibians, also very boastful to say we have what it takes. And we shouldn't be compared to the other tourism destinations, the mass tourism destinations of Central Europe, etc., because Namibia's concept in terms of tourism is so much different, and we need to expose that to the world.
Well, there you have it. I'm sure we'll invite you some other time again when you come closer to the executive sort of decisions, and maybe we can even combine it with a talk with somebody from FNATA, and then maybe get a bigger picture and see where we're heading with this. Thank you for coming in.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I hope that brings a bit of insight. I can assure you I could have probably spent another half an hour talking to her, because she's a mine of information in that regard, especially as far as tourism sector is concerned. But yeah, like I said there, we're likely to invite her once more. And hopefully by that time we'll see how this moves on now, because I think that really is the biggest challenge, getting our country to react faster to whatever COVID sort of throws in our way. Because the problem that we have is, I mean, and I'm not blaming anybody, it was very difficult to find solutions in a time where you face up to something that you don't know and that you have never known before. So now it's time to, after more than a year, to maybe go back to the drawing board and say, okay, come on guys, this will not leave us for the next few months. What is the best way in which we can face this enemy and make sure that we sort of save up on our economy, because there's no point in all of us being just plain poor and Namibia going down the drain. So I hope all of them find an answer that fits in with everybody, and where government can also live with it, you know. So yeah, but that was Gitta.
I agree. And then second, you had an interview with Hennie. Hennie is a marketing officer for Namibia Media Holdings, who introduced a booking system to ease your vacation attempt.
Actually, the vaccination attempt.
Is it the vaccination?
So we want them to yeah, I must be honest, I wrote it down for quickly, and my handwriting is not always the best. Yeah, it is really, it's all about vaccination, making sure that if you want to get vaccinated, that you've got easier access in terms of bookings and getting there without standing in the rows for hours on end. But let's have a look ourselves. I've been joined by Hennie Geldenhuys, our Chief Marketing Officer at Namibia Media Holdings. Welcome, Hennie.
Yes, good afternoon, Frank. Thanks.
Yeah. So right after this interview, we'll quickly play you a short synergy video just to get you up to speed again. But essentially why we invited you here is obviously to talk about our newest thing, bookings.my.na. Maybe you want to just quickly explain to our viewers what it is about and how it came to be.
Yes, thank you, Frank, for the opportunity. It's always nice to be here. I think with Namibia Media Holdings and Synergy in part, has been working quite hard behind the scenes, especially with Tourismus Namibia, to make sure that we revitalize our websites in the name of tourism. So soon we'll be launching our new Tourismus Namibia website, and along with that we will be including a bookings.my.na platform called X Namibia. And that will allow partners to join us with stakeholders in the tourism industry so that they can have their accommodation establishments listed on our properties so that people can actually book their accommodation establishments via this platform.
Yeah, and people don't actually need to be worried, because the way that we're approaching it is we'll revamp the Tourismus Namibia page, which you're obviously always welcome to look at. So as from this Monday, we'll actually start posting stories on a daily basis instead of bringing out the monthly magazine. Okay. And in that way, we want to get people to be able to read up on tourism happenings in Namibia almost every day. Not almost, every day. That's really what it's all about. And instead of forcing everybody to always read articles and then see an ad and read articles and see an ad, what we've done is we've basically, we're introducing the bookings page as a click-on item. So obviously there will be ads. I mean, somebody's got to pay our accounts as well. But the bottom line is, as soon as you start planning your holiday, you would tend to go onto the bookings page.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is obviously good news for all of you out there, because we're obviously trying to promote Namibia more and more. But what is the interesting part is we're now, let's say, abusing that page for the moment for our COVID drive.
Yes.
So would you like to expand on that a bit?
So with Tourismus Namibia and the whole Tourismus drive, and especially with tourism, linking vaccinations to getting our tourism establishments back on the front foot.
Yeah.
Because that's essentially what our goal is. We've partnered with NG Kerk Eros to set up a vaccination center there. And we're using this bookings.my.na platform for people to actually register to get their vaccinations done at Eros Kerk, NG Kerk in Eros. Yeah. So people can go to this platform, they can register on this platform, put in their details, and then obviously have their time slots that is easier for them booked on this platform, so that they can avoid the long queues, especially in this drive now. And I think with Namibia Media Holdings, with Synergy, and with Tourismus Namibia, this is our drive to get the tourism sector back on track. Get your local Namibians vaccinated, and then try and get other people to come and vaccinate as well.
Yeah, it's essentially what we've been talking about on the Tourismus Namibia show all the time, is that NMH will not organize and finance Namibia Tourism Expo 2021, but instead will use all the input that it would have normally invested into a tourism expo to rather get the vaccination drive behind us. Because I spoke yesterday to the CEO of Eurowings Discover, for example, and he made it very clear that Germans, I suppose all over the world, would want to reduce their risk. So they will come and visit a country that is seen to be vaccinating, that's seen to be trying to get a herd immunity of whatever kind. And yes, I know there are obviously people out there who are not so crazy about all of it. But at the end of the day, if we don't toe the line, nobody will come.
Yes. So we would want to motivate our Tourismus viewers and our NMH followers to basically make use of the NG Kerk Eros facilities. Go to bookings with an s.my.na. You'll see the X Namibia landing page there, and there's a short message that says watch this space, there's bigger things to come, but in the meantime you can make use of that platform to book your vaccinations on that platform. And then obviously we open from Monday to Fridays from 9 o'clock to 3:30 in the afternoons, and then on Saturdays from 8 o'clock to 2:30. And then there's a special feature for the pensioners as well. So on Tuesday, Wednesdays and Thursdays, the pensioners do get a little bit more extra treatment by making use of this bookings.my.na to reserve their spot, so that they also can avoid the long queues and getting their vaccination shots a lot quicker.
And it's actually a very good idea, because if you're one of the customers of NMH, you can really do a block booking if you organize it well. and that way make sure that if there is time to be spent on this sort of exercise, that you can at least control it.
Yes, that's correct. So we try to motivate our clients as well to make use of the facilities. I mean, there's obviously some organizations that would want to take their teams and come to a venue whereby they get priority treatment because they've made a booking, and then they can get their shots and get back to work.
Yeah, so my appeal really would be for those who are in the queue and see somebody coming in and having a block booking and getting that extra treatment. Don't be angry with us, be angry with yourself, because you could have used the same opportunity. Use bookings.my.na and then make sure that you don't stand in the line unnecessarily.
Yes, thank you, Frank, and watch the space. There's some nice things to come. Our field agents will be in the field gathering information for those bookings.my.na website. So yes, if there's more information that they need, they're always welcome to contact marketing@nmh.com.na, and we'll put you in contact with our Tourismus liaisons, and then they can basically get your business listed on bookings.my.na. For you to get a better click-through rate with tourists actually making bookings on those platforms.
So it's really up to you to make sure that if you are part of the hospitality industry, and then that you would like to register on this page so as to be able to score some of those customers who are interested in visiting that page. It's really up to you to contact us. We will contact you if we've got your name, but otherwise it's up to you to really make the effort. Just write to us or phone us, and we'll make sure that the rest falls in place. Thank you, Hennie, for being on the show.
Thank you, Frank. It was nice.
Middag, nou die eerste dose gekry. Dis lekker vinnig, gemaklik, al die goed by die skougrond. Kom kry jou jab, wees veilig.
Fellow Namibian, good afternoon. Just get my second dose of vaccine. Please encourage all the Namibians to come out and get vaccinated.
Right, stand by. Yeah, welcome back. I saw there was this little glitch in terms of me appearing once again, but I suppose that happens. Anyway, that brings us to the end of this show. Thank you very much for joining me again.
It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, and hopefully you enjoyed it a bit, hopefully a bit of information, new holiday ideas and whatever. In the meantime, remain safe and healthy, and we hope to see you next week.